Hello my friends, welcome to this quick Sivir guide. I will explain you everything that you need to actually play this champion. Who am I to tell you though? I'm a multi-season challenger AD carry main, I was rank 1 Jinx, and I was a full-time pro player. So no talking around, let's get straight into it. When it comes down to items, you usually always have like 3 options that you can take. So right now it's like D-Blade, always start, and then you kind of have like a few options that you can go. The first one is that you go Essence Reaver into Navori and then follow up by Infinity Edge and then your LDR or like whatever armor penetration item you want to go. Of course, you will have like boots somewhere in between. This is the first thing, so Navori and Essence Reaver first, Navori always second. Then the other option that you have that has like way more damage but has like a worse build path because you're kind of relying a bit on the BF sword is Yuntal build, and when you're going Yuntal, then your second item is like a bit more flexible, you know. If you're going Yuntal, you can go Infinity Edge first, you can also go a attack speed item, but usually I would advise you if you go Yuntal that you go this, and then you can look if you need an attack speed item or if you already want armor penetration. And then the third build path is Hex Optics into Phantom Dancer, and then followed up by either Infinity Edge or Lord Dominic's. Hex Optics is really hyped right now. Keep in mind that maybe if you watch this video, you know it's a bit outdated. So right now Hex Optics is really strong, but I would just highly advise you to test these builds and whatever fits the best for you and like in your situations you should go for it. So as I said, the Yuntal build probably has like a bit more damage. The Essence Reaver build, obviously you can stay like really long on the map, right? You have like full mana always, you can play every single mid wave, you can just nuke every single wave with your spells, but you will have less damage. When it comes to runes, you see it here, you usually always go lethal and then like Presence of Mind, and then like you can go Alacrity or the lifesteal one, and then when it comes to the last one, it's cut down. Your secondary should most of the time be Inspiration, and right now on this patch Cashback and Triple Tonic is really broken, so I would highly advise you to play this rune setup. Now that we talked about items and runes, let's go to her spells. A lot of people don't know that when you're auto-attacking, you're actually getting decaying movement speed from Sivir's passive. So you see it here, I have 417 movement speed, and right now if I'm hitting a target, you see it goes up to 480 immediately. That means I will always have like way more movement speed. This is not only for auto-attacks, it also goes for spells. So if you're hitting Q, you will see it also goes up and then it's slowly going down again. And then your Q, it's just a boomerang. Really important that if you Q the enemy, there's no damage reduction at all. You see it's the both damage on like the same targets. But what's really important is that if you're hitting non-champions, right, so let's say there are minions in front, then it will reduce the damage to a minimum of 40%. So always be aware whenever there are minions that your Q is not doing that much damage as it would maybe do if there are no minions at all. And then her W, probably the most important ability, you simply have bounces on Sivir and you're actually getting attack speed. What's another really important point with Sivir W is that it's actually auto attack reset. So I see a lot of people that just press W and then start auto-attacking. But why is this bad? So if I'm auto-attacking, then in League we have a mechanic called auto-attack reset. That basically means that we can auto-W and you see that my auto-attack is going out immediately. And this like auto-attack W reset, you see, it's like going out immediately, and it's really, really important to do this because especially in late game when you have like auto W mechanic, then you have like 2 auto attacks at the same time. So like maybe it's 500 damage more, you know, it's really important to do that and keep it in mind. Aside from that, it's like bouncing 8 times. So if the enemies are like next to each other, you know, you see it here. It's like bouncing really hard. And then next thing about her E, it's basically you block a spell that is like kinda incoming and you get HP back. You can use this often when you're like chilling in lane and the enemy is like, let's say, throwing an Astral Q or something and you just want to get some HP back, then you can just E the spell and you get some HP back. Also, what's really important, a lot of people forget this, it's actually proccing your passive. So when the enemy is hitting you with their spell shield, then you're actually getting movement speed and maybe you can run out of situations faster. Okay, now her ultimate, probably the most important part, and the spell that is like used completely wrong. So her ultimate is giving the team movement speed, you see the circle here, but what's even more important is the second part, that the attacks against champions while on the hunt reduce the cooldown of her basic abilities. So if I'm just auto-attacking and using my W, you see the W cooldown is not going down. Now if I'm actually using ult and I start auto-attacking, you see that my W cooldown is actually going down with every single hit. And now let's imagine we have like way more attack speed, then my cooldowns are going down like by a lot, you know? So it's really important that you ult when you can actually hit the enemy. And another part that is important is that your ultimate is a refreshing, like Vayne ultimate, for example. So whenever you're taking a kill or like an assist, you know, from like someone you have damaged, then your ultimate duration is refreshed again. When it comes to summoner spells, you always have flash, and then followed up by like any secondary summoner spell. Can be cleanse, can be exhaust, can be ghost, can be barrier, can even be TP in like really hard lanes. It doesn't really matter, it's really situational. And now let's talk about like a few mechanics. There are not a lot on Sivir, but there are a few we can talk about. So when it comes down to a Q, what I like to do is always like mismatch my Q. So for example, if I'm moving into like, let's say the enemies are here, and if I'm moving into this direction and I throw my Q like this, usually it's like not hitting the enemy, because the enemy always tries to kind of mismatch our movement. So if I'm running down here, the enemy will make me move into this side. So what I like to do is when I'm clicking down is that I'm throwing it more into this side. And now if the enemy is like spacing a bit, you can always like match your Q kind of into the enemy. And that's also really important to do. You should like never stay still, If you want to get a double hit on range, for example, then you should always match the movement of the enemy and like try to get a double hit, because the redirection of your Q is actually really important. And then you can maybe hit twice. When it comes down to your W, it's like the most important part is on how you actually hit a wave. So when it comes down to hitting a wave, it's really important that we usually take waves high as Sivir, so pretty far into the enemy's face, because we have like so much tools to actually hit the wave. So what I like to do, depending on the item, is that you auto W, and now you don't hit the first one, you hit this one. So you kind of clear the enemy minions like all at the same time, right? I didn't buy items yet, but you get my point, right? Like it makes no sense to only hit the first one all the time if we are like overkilling him by our boomerangs. So just keep in mind that if you use a like Sivir W, that you want to do it as efficient as possible to nuke the wave. And that's it already with the video. I think Sivir is a really easy champion, like really good champion for beginners, especially. You only have like a few mechanics with the auto attack reset on your W, with the wave, you see it here, and that's it. If you found this helpful, feel free to check out my coaching Discord or my Patreon for more. And if you found this helpful, feel free to leave me a like or comment, whatever. I'm wishing you a nice day. Goodbye.